जय राधा गोपीनाथ श्री राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा माई जय गौरनीताय जय गौरनीताय जय गौरनीताय जय गौरनीताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अस्तोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस शिला प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अस्तोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद के अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य शिला हरिदास ठाकुर के प्रेम से गौ श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की मायापुर धाम की पुरुषोत्तम चित्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा माई यमुन माई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की ऑल glories to assembled devotees, all 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 glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृतं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. So we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 29, Text 32. Artha gyat samsaya chitta tatha shreyansu karma krit mukta sangastatho bhuyan adogdha dharmam atmana. Artha gyat samsaya chitta tatha shreyasu karma krit mukta sangastatho bhuyan adokta dharmam atmana artha gyat samsaya chitta tata sreyan swakarma krit mukta sangastatho bhuyan adokta dharma atmana. Prabhuji. Mataji. You want to try, Mataji? Arthagyat samsaya cheta So, O Toad, Arthagyat, then one who knows the purpose of the Vedas, samsaya, doubt, chitta, one who cuts off, tataha, then him, sreyan, better, shokarma, his prescribed duties, krit, one who executes, mukta sangha, liberated from material association, tataha, then him, vuyan, better, adokta, not executing, dharmam, devotional service, atmanaha, for himself. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Better than the Brahmana who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts, and better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahmanical principles, and better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination, and better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward. Purport. Arthagnya. Arthagnya Brahmana refers to one who has made a thorough analytical study of the absolute truth, and who knows the absolute truth is realized in three different phases, namely Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. If someone not only has this knowledge but is able to clear all doubts, if questioned about the absolute truth, he is considered better. Further, there may be a learned Brahmana Vaishnava who can explain clearly and eradicate all doubts. But if he does not follow the Vaishnava principle, then he is not situated on a higher level. One must be able to clear all doubts and simultaneously be situated in the Brahmanical characteristic. Such a person who knows the purpose of the Vedic injunction, who can employ the principle laid down in the Vedic literatures, and who teaches his disciple in this way is called an Acharya. The position of an Acharya is that he executes devotional service with no desire for elevation to a higher position of life. The highest perfection of Brahmana is the Vaishnava. A Vaishnava who knows the science of absolute truth but is not able to preach such knowledge to others is described as being in the lower stage. One who not only understands the principle of science of God but can also preach is in the second stage. And one who not only can preach but who also sees everything in the absolute truth, and absolute truth in everything is in the highest class of Vaishnavas. It is mentioned here that a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. In fact, the highest stage of Brahmanical perfection is reached when one becomes a Vaishnava. Now we begin Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadadisho Padantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Shadvaitam Shavadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Sri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanushute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpatiru Vaisya Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Thank you. Hare Ram Hare Hare. Thank you very much everyone for attending today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Everyone is fired up. Okay. Here the current chapter is the explanation of devotional service, and Mother Devahuti is submissively and very humbly inquiring about the devotional service, and Lord Kapila, who is the Supreme Lord himself and who is acting as a spiritual master of Devahuti, here is giving transcendental knowledge on subject matter of devotional service. So Mother Devahuti is a very good example of how a disciple should have a mood, how a disciple should act in front of a spiritual master. She is acting very, even though she is the daughter of Swayambhu Manu and the wife of Kardama Muni, the great sage, and she is the mother of Supreme Lord himself. She, her position is very exalted. Even though her position is very exalted, she is not mixed with the tinge of pride, or she doesn't have any pride, saying that, okay, I know everything about devotional service. Why should I inquire like that? She is very submissively and humbly inquiring from Kapila Muni, and Kapila Muni is explaining about the different types of devotional service here. So this devotional service is in relation to the Sankhya philosophy. There are actually two Kapila. One Kapila is atheistic Kapila, and Kapila that is in Bhagavatam is the Supreme Lord Himself. So the Sankhya philosophy generally talks about metaphysics, like material element, about their combination, about the creation, like that. So it's a very vast topic. It's a very difficult to understand also. So the atheist Kapila only talks about the combination and permutation of different material elements, about the creation. But here in Bhagavatam, it talks about the material and physical elements, creation also. But meanwhile, it talks about devotional service, which is the ultimate yoga, bhakti yoga, which is the like supreme yoga. So if you go through the previous verses from this chapter, Kapila Muni is explaining to Mother Devotee about the gradation of the living entities. So actually he is describing so the consciousness of the living entities, which living entities are better. He's explaining like that. So he begins with the living entities are better than the inanimate objects, and the better than the inanimate objects are the living entities which has the consciousness, and the better than the living entities which has consciousness is the living entities which has manifested the sense perception. For example, like few days ago we were reading in the purports, and Prabhupada was explaining about how even a stone has a soul inside his body, how a mountain has also soul inside his body. So we can see how Govardhan Hill, which is in Vrindavan, is decreasing in size a mustard seed a day. So and the stone also has a soul. Usually in while making the deities, like the Mayapur deities of Nrsimhadev, everyone knows that Nrsimhadev deity, right? So to craft the deity from some stone, it should be actually a living stone, and it should have a sign of life. And they check it through different means whether it has life or not. And if it has a life and it has been eaten by some special kind of insect, then they use that stone to crave the deity of their lordship. So practically Bhagavatam says that even the stone has the soul, but its consciousness is not developed. So better than the stone is the living entities which has developed the sense perception, like say trees. So in the purport also we hear that in the Mahabharata actually it was mentioned that how trees can actually can manifest a sense of perception. Then better than the sense of perception are those with a sense of taste. The fish actually has a sense of taste. So actually Srimad Bhagavatam talks about the evolution process in very scientific way. So this modern theology of evolution, which Charles Darwin has stated or propounded, is more or less incorrect. The proper theory of evolution is very nicely explained in Bhagavatam, in Padma Purana also. So it's very scientifically explaining how the consciousness of the living entities is elevated as as how the senses, different senses of perception or smell or a sight or a touch or a vision is manifested in them. So better than the sense of taste here is with living entities with sense of touch, and better than sense of touch is the living entities with sense of smell. So sense of smell is the insect-like bees. They have manifested the sense of smell. So they are better than the trees. So better than the trees, better than the smell, are the living entities who has manifested the sense of hearing. Snakes. They can actually, if you see, it's a frog in the monsoon season croak very loudly in a very pleasant way, which is very pleasing to snakes. They croak very loudly, and the snake has a very strong sense of hearing, so it goes and swallows the frog. And it is stated in Bhagavatam that usually in material world we always croak like a frog. we croak like a frog of different mundane things, not about the we don't talk about the Supreme Lord, we don't talk about the Atma Tattva, we don't talk about the Guru Tattva, we don't talk about how to get out of this material world. We only talk about how to get here, how to comfortably sit here, how to expand our sense gratification by expanding our family, by artificially expanding our basic needs. So we only talk about that, and we only indulge in things like that. Usually Bhagavatam states that there is no need of artificially expanding our needs. It will only make us miserable. Usually these days we see, usually in Kali Yuga it's very prominent that people, almost 99% of people tries to artificially expand their basic needs. Everything, the basic needs is actually provided by the Supreme Lord. If one has sufficient food, sufficient cloth, sufficient shelter, then one has to be satisfied with it. If one tries to be satisfied by artificially expanding their basic needs, then it will only lead them to the miseries. So in the material world, the talks of human is like the croak of the frog, only trying to adjust the situation here, trying to comfortably live here, not thinking beyond that, not questioning about the Atma Tattva, like how in Vedanta Sutra the first aphorism is Athatha Brahma Jigyasa. Athatha Brahma Jigyasa means knowing about oneself. Okay, what is this creation? Okay, what is, a lot of us has some question during one point of our life. Sing at the sky, sing at the stars, sing at the sun, sing at us, sing at the nature, how it is created, what is this, so what's the purpose of my life, why I am here, what is family, So that are like a basic question. So the first step of spiritual life begins with this question, Athatha Brahma Jigyasa, who am I? So Bhagavad Gita says that we are the spirit soul. We are the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord Krishna, Sri Krishna. So spirit soul actually we living entity actually decided to go away from Krishna and decided to come into this material existence to enjoy like a Krishna. We became envious with the Krishna, and we decided to come to this material manifestation and enjoy like a Krishna. And Krishna being merciful that, okay, you want to enjoy, I'll send you to this material world, so you try to enjoy. So if the more we try to enjoy, then our enjoyment or our endeavor for enjoyment is baffled actually. For little happiness we have to do so much of thing. Bhagavatam mentions that usually the happiness in the family life between the man and woman is like a drop of water in the desert. It's nothing much. What can a drop of water do in the desert? It doesn't have any potential So yeah, so here it is said that the sense of hearing are the better than the sense of smell. So we should rather I was talking about the frog and the snake. So we should rather be talking about the Atma Tattva, about how to get out of this material world, talk about the Supreme Lord, listen to His pastime. Then we can gradually purify our senses and we can be ultimately with the Krishna. So and after that, after this manifestation of sense of hearing, then the living entities who can distinguish between the forms are better. For example, crows are better than the snakes. And the living entities who have developed the upper and lower sets of teeth are better than who can distinguish the form. And living entities who has many legs are better than the who has developed the upper sets of teeth. So like living entities like a wasp, they are wasp is fallen under the who has many legs, and better than the wasps are the four-legged animals like goat, buffalo, cows, and better than the four-legged animals are human beings. So Kapila Muni is gradually explaining which is better. So human form of life is a very rare. One gets human form of life after 8.4 million species of life. It's stated in Bhagavad Gita how after traveling through 8.4 million of lives one gets human form of life. And so basically human body is like a boat. It's a boat to cross over the ocean of material nescience. We have been stuck here from time immemorial. According to our karma, we are sometime cats, sometime hogs, sometime demigods like maybe Indra, Chandra, Vayu. With demigods like them, we had become ants, we have become snakes, we have become birds, trees, stone in previous life. And finally we have got the body of the human. So this human form of life is to meant for actually serving the Supreme Lord Krishna and to get out of this material world. And furthermore here Kapila Muni is explaining among the humans who are better. So Kapila Muni is saying that in the human beings, the society who follows the Varna Ashram are the better. The Varna Ashram dharma means this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and following other four ashram of Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. So the human society which are following this Varna Ashrama system is the better among the humans. And among these four Brahmanas, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, Brahmana are better. So furthermore Kapila is explaining that Brahmana with the knowledge of Vedas, who have the knowledge of Vedas, they are better than the designated Brahmana. And the Brahmanas who knows the purport of the Vedas, who knows the meaning of the Vedas, are better than who knows the Veda, who knows the real purport of Vedas. Brahmana who knows the real purport of Vedas are better than the Brahmana who just have read the Vedas. And furthermore, Kapila Muni is explaining that Brahmana who can dissipate all doubts are better than the Brahmana who knows the purport of Veda. And furthermore, Kapila Muni is explaining that Brahmana who follow the Brahminical principle is better than the Brahmana who dissipates all doubts. And furthermore, he is explaining that a one who is liberated from material contamination, so he is better than the Brahmana who follow the Brahminical principle. So Brahminical principle is like satyam socham, like speaking truth, practicing cleanliness, practicing tolerance, like these are the quality of Brahmana. And one who is actually liberated from material contamination. So this material contamination means that there is three modes of material nature, which is called mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So mode of goodness generally means a person who is very active person, who wakes up early in the morning, who takes a nice food stuff, not a junk food, who is who is like a very peaceful person, who is very organized. He is considered to be a person who is in mode of goodness. And the mode of person who are in mode of ignorance, passion, are the person who are not very well managed. And the person who is in mode of ignorance are the person who always sleeps, who is not very organized. So they are the person who are in mode of ignorance. So the Brahmanas who are above this influence of material contamination are better than the Brahmana who follows the Brahminical principles. And better than this Brahmana who is liberated from material contamination are the pure devotee of the Lord who execute devotional service without any reward. So what is pure devotional service? I think it's Narada Muni says, Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesa sevanam bhakti ruchyate. Pure devotional service is free from all material designation. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam and rishikena rishikesa sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So it's free from all material designation and all contamination. And so one who engages in devotional service, his senses also gets purified. It is said like that. All of us are contaminated here. We all know that how, in what quantity and in what way we are contaminated. So the goal of life is to attend the pure devotional service. So how can we attend the pure devotional service? Narada Muni is saying that by engaging our contaminated senses, the sense of sight, sense of hear, sense of touch, sense of smell, or sense of taste, by engaging in the service of Krishna. We can engage our sense of sight by hearing, by taking darshan or watching the deity form of Sri Radha Gopinath. We can purify our sight of eyes. Our eyes usually, have a tendency to look at the beautiful objects, look at the beautiful nature, beautiful scenes. So our eyes can be actually purified. These contaminated eyes can be purified by having the darshan of the Sri Radha Gopinath. And our sense of hearing can be purified by hearing the Bhagavad Katha, by hearing the story on the Supreme Lord. Usually we have a tendency, almost all of us has, 99% of the population has a tendency to listen to the mundane subject matters, to listen to the mundane songs, or to listen to some mundane prajalpas, mundane things. So this tendency to listen to mundane things can be eradicated in us by actually hearing the story of Krishna, story of different leelas of Ram, different leelas of Vishnu, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, with submissively hearing, oral reception, and our sense of touch, sense of taste. We have the tendency to actually take a lot of abominable foodstuffs, like we generally like to go to restaurants and take a nice food stuff which is not offered to God, which has been contaminated. We like to take a lot of things like that. But actually, it's only contaminating our consciousness and only contaminating our heart. So it is usually a impediment in devotional service. So this sense of taste can be purified by actually only taking prasad, the food stuff offered to the Lord. We'll be actually serving prasad after 9. So actually those who take taking prasad is the easiest way of getting the mercy of the Lord. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to chant the holy name, or you don't need to sit at one place or read Bhagavatam, or even hearing is very difficult. So eating prasad is very easy. So you just can take prasad and actually get purified. So actually it is said that it begins with the tongue. The spiritual process, it begins with the tongue. One has to control the tongue. What one eats. Rupa Goswami says, I think it's Bacho Begam Manasa Krodha Begam Jiva Begam Udarapasta Begam Etan Begam Abhishayeta Dhira Sarvam Prithibim Sashichat, something like that. He says that by controlling our tongue, we can control the urge to speak also, urge to taste the abominable or unpalatable food stuff, and it also stop the urge of the belly and also the urges of genitals. So it actually stop the urges of these three things. So one who can stop these urges of speak, urges of tongue, urges of belly, and urges of genital, then one can actually progress in a spiritual life. So we can, this way we can purify our sense of taste by taking only food stuff that is offered to God. And this senses of touch, how can we purify our sense of touch? So sense of touch we can purify by usually we can here in Ambarish Maharaj's story, how he used to dance with the devotees in the kirtan. When usually sometime when it's in festival, we can see that when we dance with the devotees, then we get little bit collided with the devotees. That way also we get purified, and the sense of the purification of sense of touch means is to actually offer the obeisances onto the Supreme Lord, onto the Sri Radha Gopinath on the floor. That way we can purify our sense of touch. We have a tendency to actually feel the soft objects like the pillows, like that. Human being has the tendency to touch the soft objects. So touching usually soft objects, like even to go a little forward, touching pillows and touching the bodies of each other. So this way the sense of touch is also contaminated. The lusty desire is arousing in our heart. So this way it's making us more contaminated. So we can purify our sense of touch by just offering obeisances here, dancing in the kirtan, like that. So this Ambarish Maharaj is the best example of how he purified his senses through all this process. And so the purport was talking about how our pure devotee is better than the Brahmana who is free from the contamination of material existence. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanamam prapatete vasudevim sarvam itim shahmahatma sudurlava. After many lifetimes, after many birth and death, one who comes to the knowledge and one who surrenders to the Supreme Lord Vasudeva, that he is the Supreme Lord and that he is the cause of all causes, that such a soul is very rare. Krishna himself says that those who are the devotees of Krishna, who surrenders unto him, after many lifetime, after many millions and millions of lifetime, he is very rare soul. Krishna says himself. And among those rare souls, only few knows Krishna. So it's very difficult to know Krishna. So usually we are after, usually people, we are even in the, if we see the Brahminical culture in the India and Nepal, we see that people are usually interested into dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That's it. They do religious principles for economic development. Why they want to do religious principle? Why they want to come to temple? Why they want to do sacrifices? For economic development, just for artha, to get more and more wealth. And then from artha, what they want? Sense gratification. They want a comfortable life. Usually we want comfortable life. We want comfortable beddings. We want comfortable house, comfortable cars, comfortable bike. Then after doing dharma, then gaining artha, and then enjoying our senses, then we come to realization that, oh, okay, actually this doesn't work. Doing sense gratification, still I am same person, same miserable person. The more I do sense gratification, the more I am baffled. So the one starts to come at the path of moksha. So moksha means the liberation from birth and death. So usually living entities is getting another body according to their karma. The karma they do in this life, they will get the body according to their karma. For example, what's the best example? Okay, yeah. So it's not a very, it's a bit graphic example. Sorry, like for example, a man or a woman who always likes to stay naked, he becomes a tree in the next life. So a man or a woman who likes to eat only fleshes, or who likes to eat only meat, or who is very violent in this life, who has not done any good karma, who haven't been to the temple even at once in their lifetime. So they naturally become tigers in the next life. One who likes to sleep more, he becomes a bear in the next life. This way, according to karma, they gets their body. So this, and they becomes dogs, they become hogs, they become cats, they become bear. And again, this evolution process starts to begin. Like how I explained before in the beginning of class, the sense of consciousness is manifested, then the sense of perception, sense of smell, sense of touch, like that. It will take one to get again a human form, like 8.4 million species. It's a gap of 1 million years. 8.4 million species. Generally, even an insect live for 1 year or 6 months or a month, and even the more they get evolved, dog lives for 12 years, and even they get more evolved, cows lives for some more year, like that. It's a gap of almost 10 million years. So the human form of, what I mean to say is that human form of life is very, very, very rare. And so usually we, being under the control of Maya, illusion, we are not able to be very serious in this path of devotion. We are not able to very seriously give our very life to the Supreme Lord Krishna. And we again being coming under the modes of material nature, coming under the lust, coming under the anger, loving, coming under the greed. Then again we go into samskara of birth and death, different species, different animals, human form, again birth and death. So this way we are only in cycle of birth and death. So we have to come out of this. So coming out of this is very simple. One has to, whatever one is doing, they have to just dovetail it to the Supreme Lord Krishna. Nothing more, nothing much. Whatever they are eating, just offer to Krishna, and we can take it as a prasad. That way we get purified. Not much endeavor is required. Like Krishna says, Manakrit Prabhu, what does he say? Patram Puspam Phalam Toyam. Yeah, Krishna says, offer me leaves, fruits, vegetable, water. That's it. Krishna is not asking for anything. He's asking you to you offer a glass of water every single day, or just nice vegetables you cook for yourself. You offer it to him, following the rules and regulation, and Krishna is pleased with you, and you get more purified. So whatever we do, we just dovetail it to Krishna. Whatever we are earning for Krishna, we may be earning outside doing some work. We give it to charity to the Krishna. We give that way our money is purified, because how we are acquiring money is we are acquiring money from the source of sins. Actually, usually in Australia, there is meat eating, there is gambling, there is illicit sex, there is intoxication. The places where we work, these four things usually are involved, whether the gambling or the meat eating restaurant or the illicit sex or the like this all these four pillars of sins are involved. And this way whatever we earn, it's actually sinful. So Krishna says, okay, then you can just give in charity to the Krishna. That way the money we have earned, that also gets purified. That's why you won't come under the resultant action of karma. So it's very simple actually to become a devotee of Krishna. Just we have to dovetail whatever we are doing, and we have to offer it to Krishna. It's very easy. And also here Kapila Muni was explaining about how a devotee should have a vision of equanimity with every living entity, since every living entities are the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. They are the fraction of the Supreme Lord. Just as the best example is like how a fire in a flame, there is a spark. What do you say? Jilka in the jilka, or the spark. That spark is actually a living entity, the soul, like us, like dogs, cats, trees. They are like the spark, but the fire is Krishna. So when the sparks gets away from the fire, so what is its value? It just disappears in the air. What is the use of its existence? Nothing. So when it's in the fire, then it's in its natural position. So similarly, we living entities, when we go away from Krishna or Vishnu, then our existence is actually useless. So what I mean to say was that every living entity is a part and parcel of Krishna. So a devotee, which is a practicing devotee, or even a normal person, should try to see every living entity with a vision of equanimity. He should not look at them with the unequal vision. There should be, of course, Kapila Muni is explaining here that the treatment should be with the distinction, but the vision should be with the equanimity. For example, Kapila Muni was explaining, okay, the tiger is the part and parcel of Krishna. So how to deal with the tiger? You cannot keep him with you at the home. He will just eat you. So Kapila, their Prabhupada was nicely explaining how during the times of yore, during the past time, during the early ages, sages used to go to the jungle, and they used to live in a jungle. They used to have their ashram, kutir, and in the door they used to keep a foodstuff offered to Krishna. Like usually, it is this very interesting. Tiger, when it once gets the blood of the human, then only it is always after the human. It doesn't like any foodstuff. It will be only after human. Once the tiger gets the blood of the human, he only wants that. So sages in the jungle used to actually keep the bowl filled with the milk in their door, and actually tiger used to come and take that milk and go away. This way sages used to even benefit the tiger by giving the foodstuff offered to the Lord. This way tiger gets benefited. So this is the vision of equanimity. Equanimity doesn't mean that we simply treat animals like us, like how we treat the human beings, and how in Vedic civilization it was also further mentioned that how usually these days people keep cats and dogs inside the house. Prabhupada was saying that during Vedic civilization doesn't mean keeping the cats and dogs inside the house. They give, for their advancement, they give the householder compassionately offer food stuff that is offered to God to the cats and dogs. That way cats and dogs also get a human life in the next birth. There are many references of this in scriptures. Even they have got the pure love of Godhead. In Chaitanya Charitamrita we can see that how a dog got the pure love of Godhead. And even in the pastime of Ramanujacharya, he offered prasad to the fish. The fish took the prasad and it gained the forehand form of the Vaikuntha devotees. So there is like immense potency. So this way we shows the vision of equanimity. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Suni Chaiva Sopakyacha Pandita Samadarshana. The humble says, by the virtue of knowledge, she is the learned Brahmana. She is a learned Brahmana. She is a cow, a elephant, a dog, and also a dog eater with a vision of equanimity. And Kapila Muni was explaining in the previous verses that through charitable gifts and attention, as well as through friendly behavior and viewing all to be alike, one should propitiate me who abide in all creature as their very self. Yeah, so Kapila Muni is saying that by offering charitable gifts and attention, and by friendly behavior and viewing all as the part and parcel, one worship me. So furthermore, in the purport, Prabhupada was explaining even the distinction in the devotees, 3 types of devotees. He was explaining Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. So Kanishta Adhikari are the devotees of the Lord who sings who chants his names, who comes to the temple, who gives charity. But the distincting factor in Kanishta Adhikari is that they only sees God as God, but they sees all the living. They don't see all the living entities as equal. They don't do. They don't see with the vision of equanimity. And the Madhyam Adhikari are those who sees the Supreme Lord, and also who tries to go out and tries to preach about the Supreme Lord to the other people, who tries to give the Atma Gyan to the people. And Uttama Adhikari are those devotee who actually doesn't make any distinction between any living entities. Uttama Adhikari, they actually sees every living entity with the equal vision. Even they see even a dog and even a learned person with the same equal vision. So this way Prabhupada is explaining here about the different grades of Vaishnavas, and how a pure devotee of the Lord is better than the Brahmana who is liberated from the modes of contamination. For example, I'll just end with this one. There is a story in Srimad Bhagavatam about the Dvijapatni and a Brahmana. So Brahmana, actually they were performing Karmakandi rituals. Karmakandi rituals means they are offering it to the Supreme Lord for Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. That's it. They were doing that kind of rituals, not out of pure devotional service, not out of wanting not any rewards, but out of some material benefit. So when Krishna sends his cowherd boys to ask for some prasad, food stuff, to the Brahmanas, then Krishna's friend goes and asks the Brahmanas food stuff. Actually Brahmanas, they reject them and they send them empty hand. Then later Dvijapatni, the best example is Dvijapatni, a pure devotional service. How they surrender everything, their position, their social convention, everything. They actually surrender. They just, how do you say? They give tilanjali to their social convention, and they surrender to the Krishna. They didn't care. Like generally in Vedic civilization, when Mataji or in a married Mataji usually goes away from the home at the night without the husband, then she is not considered very chaste wife. So, but it's 5,000 years old story. You know, that time the Vedic convention was very strong that time. But the Dvija Patnis didn't care about that. They actually tried to offer food stuff to the Krishna. So Dvija Patnis were actually better than the Brahmana. And actually in the Shukracharya and the Bali Maharaj Lila also, we can say Bhamana Lila, that Shukracharya didn't wanted to give the three kingdom to the Bhamanadev, but Bali Maharaj did Atma Nivedana and gave it all to the Bhamanadev. So there are few references in the Shastras how a Vaishnava is better than the Brahmana. So I'll end with this. It's already almost over time. Does anybody have any questions or comments or correction? Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Sorry, a bit loud. I could not hear.
So Prabhuji is asking about the desire to ask questions.
Yeah.
So only when you have developed some intelligence, so you can ask questions. So is it enough to have developed that intelligence to ask questions about purpose of one's life and even make the effort to find the answer, or is there anything else that will allow to receive Krishna's mercy? So Prabhuji wants to know, like, whether intelligence is just enough to ask questions so that once we are inquisitive, Krishna will give the mercy, or is there anything else that will allow us to get his mercy?
So yeah, so it's like a two-way street. The efforts will be from us also if we want to get the mercy of Krishna. So it cannot be like a one way. So the more we want to know about the Atma Tattva, the more we have to be inquisitive, and the more we have to actually surrender to Krishna. And the more we surrender to Krishna, Krishna will reveal the more knowledge to us. The less we surrender, the less knowledge is revealed. Yeah, so it's a like two-way process. We have to have that inquisitive. We have to have that. Yes, I want to know about Krishna. What else more? What to read? Whom to associate with, and where can I find that knowledge? Yeah, so this is needed from our side also. It cannot be like just one-way process. If one gets the mercy of Vaishnava, then maybe one can know about Krishna. But without the mercy of Vaishnava, it's not possible to know about Krishna. Yeah. Does it answer, Prabhu? Yeah. Anything more? Okay. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, जगद्गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की, जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे।